There we go. Hello, welcome. We're going to go through some headlines that caught my eye this week. If you're new here, my name is Katie, and this is where we discuss true crime, politics, and current affairs. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please remember to subscribe. This is our weekly roundup of some of the news headlines that caught my eye. So stick around to hear my uneducated and unsolicited opinions, and feel free to leave yours in the comments as we go as well. And we will go through the comments later in this live video. But without further ado, let's start. Where did I put you? There you are. Let's start sharing some of these news articles. So, I'm a professional, I know what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, so the first one, and where it's put me in the wrong place. There we go. Don't you just love going live? Okay, so this is the first one. This is in the UK, and the job of Minister for Disabled People has been downgraded. We'll get into it first. The job of Minister for Disabled People has been downgraded, with the new holder of the position staying at the most junior level in government. Because, the Minister for Disabled People is a part-time job. Mims Davies has taken on the role within the Department for Work and Pensions, but remains a parliamentary Under-Secretary of State. Their predecessor was a Minister of State when he held the job. Number 10 denied the role was being downgraded, as charities called for a new minister to be brought in. Downing Street said the post left vacant when the predecessor was made Minister for Legal Migration last week would be filled by an existing member of the government with other duties. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said, "What you will continue to see is a government showing strong support for disabled people and for disabled issues." I call bullshit. The new minister would lead on that important work. The predecessor re-entered government as Minister for Disabled People within the DWP when Sunak became Prime Minister. He left the role when Robert Jenrick resigned as Immigration Minister, arguing that Sunak's new Rwanda legislation did not go far enough, and his job was divided into two roles, one responsible for legal and the other for illegal migration. Miss Davies, who said she was honoured to have been given the new role, was previously Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State, the lowest rung of the ministerial ladder, with responsibility for social mobility, youth and progression. Her new portfolio of responsibilities has yet to be confirmed, but Miss Davies says she would have a continued focus on social mobility. Poor choice of words. Mobility, you're meant to be the disability minister. She pledged to work as hard as I can to ensure disabled people's voices are heard loud and clear, while continuing to champion opportunities, progression and life changes. Disability charity Sense said that the job Minister for Disabled People was a vital role in government to ensure disabled people's interests are represented and should not be taken on by someone who was already juggling other responsibilities. Another charity, Scope, condemned the change and an appalling retrograde move. Anastasia Berry, policy co-chair of the Disability Benefits Consortium, said despite making up almost a quarter of the population, disabled people are yet again being treated like they don't exist. Conservative MP Caroline Noakes, chair of the Commons Women and Equalities Committee, said the move sends entirely the wrong message when it's clear disabled people want more influence over the strategies, action plans and policies affecting them. It would do nothing to stop disabled people feeling further disempowered. A government spokesperson said Miss Davies would build upon this government's track record of supporting disabled people. The minister will help ensure there is always a strong safety net for the most vulnerable in our society, whilst tearing down barriers so that every disabled person can realise their potential and thrive. Disability rights groups have been very critical of the government's records on a number of issues. So, okay. So I think this will be our new disability minister. Well, as well as the other roles that she has. But this is following the derogatory comments that Jeremy Hunt made in his statement at a recent Conservative Party conference. It's starting to feel like we literally don't exist. We literally don't matter. We have a complicated issue with the health service. We interact with our local councils probably more than the average person. We have to go through the welfare system. Employers have to have certain things in place. There are certain liability insurance issues. There's so many different things surrounding the disabled community that they kind of do need their own minister. But it's very clear that this Tory government does not care. We're irrelevant. Unless we are working, we are irrelevant. But let me know what you think of this particular story in the comments. And as I said, we'll go through them at the end. And breathe. And further UK news. Let's see this one. So this is the next one. Rwandan criminals could come to the UK as part of Rishi's migrant deal, James cleverly admits. This is genius. Rwandan criminals could come to the UK as part of a deal to send illegal migrants to the African nation, the Home Secretary admitted to LBC. James cleverly told LBC that the law does technically mean Rwandan criminals could be sent back to the UK if the African nation government deems it necessary. Mr. Cleverly said it relates to a clause that ensures Rwanda is not able to send illegal migrants onto another nation once they have arrived from the UK for any reason. This will only be the case in a tiny number of cases, if at all, Mr. Cleverly said. If for whatever reason Rwanda had to deport someone, they could only send them back to us. Asked by Nick if that means criminals could be sent back to the UK, Cleverly said this was theoretically possible, though said the chances of this happening were vanishingly small. The Rwandan government said it was prepared to take thousands of illegal migrants throughout the duration of its partnership with the UK. Rwanda has insisted it will take thousands from the UK, any asylum seeker that is convicted of a crime in the African nation and sentenced to 5 years or more will have the right to stay revoked following their prison time. So they go over. So migrants that go over there, that are sent over there, who commit a crime and then get sentenced to 5 years or more, once they come out of prison, they will then get sent back to the UK. Genius, wonderful, marvellous idea. What the actual F is wrong with the British government? We've said we will continue working with Conservative colleagues and indeed anybody across the House that wants to improve the Rwanda bill, as long as any of those amendments deal with fundamental things, which is keeping the same rules will apply to anyone who is considered to be a national security threat by the Rwandan government. So the Rwandan government will say, yeah, this person's a security threat and have the right to send them back to us. Genius. But yet migrants that come over here need to have earnings of £35,000 or more a year to claim like the right to live and work here. Most of the British people don't earn that much, but if that's how much we need to live in the UK, why doesn't the average UK person earn that much? But that's a different topic. This is that technically criminals can be sent back to us from Rwanda once they've served their time, of course. Previously, James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, apparently called the Rwanda plan batshit, but he is now saying he can't remember saying that. I mean, all the high courts have said that this is illegal, the Rwanda bill, but the corrupt UK government has just gone ahead with it anyway. So, it's great fun. And then, still staying within the UK, this one should cheer you up. I found this one quite entertaining. Michelle Mone and her husband have been interviewed under caution. It comes after their homes in London and the Isle of Man were raided by detectives in April 2022. This is from the London Economic. There they are. This is the kind of people on boats we need to worry about. Because Baroness Mone and her husband Doug Barrowman have been interviewed under caution by detectives investigating them for fraud, according to the Mirror newspaper. The Tory peer, Baroness Mone, seriously, Michelle Mone, was made a Tory peer. Perhaps she bought it, don't know, that's just my unsolicited, uneducated opinion. The Tory peer released a documentary paid for by PPE MedPro this week, defending her role in the controversy surrounding the VIP lane contracts during the coronavirus pandemic. PPE MedPro was awarded government contracts worth more than £200 million to supply PPE after she recommended it to ministers. Let me just pause that. I said pause. It won't pause. Sorry, guys. No, it just keeps playing. Okay. Mone has conceded that she made an error in publicly denying her links to the PPE MedPro, but insists she's done nothing wrong. It comes after their homes in London and the Isle of Man were raided by detectives in April 2022. An NCA spokesperson, I don't know who the NCA is, National Crime Agency, there we go, has said that the National Crime Agency opened an investigation in May 21 into suspected criminal offences committed in the procurement of PPE contracts by PPE MedPro. She argued she is being used as a scapegoat by the government for its own COVID failings. Quote, I am ashamed of being a Conservative peer given what this government has done to us, she told the Telegraph. Oh, boo, pissing who? You're a fucking millionaire. Think yourself lucky. When I said it might cheer you up, it might also make you angry. But these are the people on boats we need to worry about, not those coming in to, claim asylum or refugee status or perhaps work. Just my opinion. Remember, leave your comments below. Let me know which article it is you're referring to, because otherwise I will forget. But we will go through this one now. And this is in The Independent. And suspect Nicholas Rossi can be extradited to the US, a judge has ruled. The judges say claims of suspect who faked his own death to escape justice have no merit. You might recognise him. His story is talking about batshit. This story is batshit. So, Nicholas Rossi leaving Edinburgh Sheriff and Justice of the Peace Court. Okay. A man facing charges of and domestic abuse in the US may be extradited from Scotland after judges refuse his appeal. Now, I'm not allowed to say that R word, this one, on the YouTube, because, we are not grown-ups, apparently. So, sorry, I'm not demeaning it. I can't say it. So, Nicholas Rossi, who has been accused of faking his own death to avoid prosecution, insists he is a victim of mistaken identity and has been fighting his case in the Scottish courts. His counsel earlier this year said his client was wanted for questioning about an alleged in England. Oh, there he is, the poor man. In September, Scottish ministers signed an order giving permission for Rossi, aged 36, to be extradited following a lengthy legal battle. He lodged an appeal against the extradition order, which was heard in Edinburgh last week. But in a decision published on Thursday, judges refused the appeal, concluding there was no merit in any of the appellant's arguments. I can talk. I am able to say words. Rossi is wanted in the US for allegedly a woman in Utah in 2008 and also faces a number of domestic charges. I hate YouTube sometimes. He initially came to the attention of the authorities after being admitted to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow with COVID-19 in December 21. I struggled with that because we have a hospital also called the Queen Elizabeth, but we call it the QE. So that's why I struggled. But anyhow, despite a sheriff ruling that he is Rossi, he claims to be an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight. Are you kidding me? Sure. Rossi was born as Nicholas Alaverdian in Rhode Island, July 87, to Diana and Jack Alaverdian, according to reports in US newspaper The Providence Journal. He was adopted by his stepfather David Rossi and changed his surname accordingly. After spending much of his adolescence in care, he spoke out against the conditions there, claiming to have suffered abuse and neglect. And there he is again. In late 2019, Rossi claimed he had been diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Friends said he claimed he was dying. During his legal battle in Scotland, he wore an oxygen mask and used a wheelchair. Under the guise of Arthur Brown, Rossi is believed to have met his wife, Miranda Knight, in Bristol 2019 and married her in early 2020, assuming the name Arthur Knight. Rossi converted to Judaism while in His Majesty's Prison, Edinburgh, where he has been held since last year. During a week-long hearing in June, he wore Orthodox Jewish clothing. Why would he choose to be Jewish? What do you reckon his motive is for that? Because the Jewish people don't just accept anyone. It's hard work to become a Jew if you're not born into it. So I'm wondering why he's chosen that. Representing himself in council. Oh my God, representing. Why do people represent? Get a lawyer. In court last week, Rossi called for an extension to his appeal period to allow him more time to present new evidence. He also moved to be granted bail and to have the court impose restrictions on the media reporting of this case. Oh, hi, we're reporting it. Sorry. On Thursday, Rossi again argued in court that he was a subject of mistaken identity and objected to lawyers referring to him as Rossi, which drew a rebuke from Lord Justice Clerk Lady Dorian. That's it for that one. So, from what I understand, he has actually had DNA tests to prove that he is Rossi, to prove he is this person that's been accused of and domestic. But yeah, I would be interested in what you think about this one. I mean, I think everyone agrees that he is Rossi, but it's why did he convert to Judaism whilst in prison? I mean, this is some extreme length to escape the justice system. This is extreme. Some people are just. Speaking of Jews, the next story. This is not okay, dude. Let's get this up. Okay. University of Pennsylvania President Liz McGill resigns after backlash to anti-Semitism on campus hearing. And just in case you're wondering, calling for the eradication of anyone, yeah, not okay. The president of the prestigious U.S. university faced criticism over her remarks during her testimony to Congress when she and other university chiefs were asked whether calling for the genocide of Jews, I'm not entirely sure if I can say that word, on campus would violate schools' codes of conduct. Calling for the genocide of anyone should be against the code of conduct. It's insane that she would just not go, yeah, that's bad. The president of US University has resigned after she was unable to say under repeated questioning that calls on campus for the of Jews would violate the school's conduct policy. And this is from Sky News, by the way. University of Pennsylvania President Liz McGill faced intense criticism from the White House, politicians, and alumni for appearing to dodge a question at a congressional hearing on campus anti-Semitism. You should go watch this video after mine, of course. It's insane. She was questioned numerous times, and she just kept skirting around it. And it should be obvious. Universities across the US have been accused of failing to protect Jewish students amid rising fears of anti-Semitism worldwide and fallout from Israel's intensifying war in Gaza. Ms. McGill appeared with the presidents of Harvard University and MIT at the congressional hearing this week. In their testimonies, the three university leaders each condemned anti-Semitism. The outcry centered on a contentious exchange with Republican Elise Stefanik, who asked whether calling for the of Jews would violate each school's code of conduct. Instead of replying directly to Ms. Stefanik's yes or no question, Ms. McGill said that the decision would be context dependent. If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, she said. An outraged Congresswoman, Stefanik, replied, conduct meaning committing the act of... Scott Buck, the chair of the Penn Board of Trustees, who has also announced he is stepping down, says Miss McGill made a very unfortunate misstep in her testimony. A fucking misstep? That's not a misstep. If someone says is calling for the genocide of Jews against school policy, you should just be able to say yes. Is calling for the genocide of Jews, what was it? Anti-Semitic or it's not a misstep. Anyway, back to the story. Unfortunate misstep in her testimony, but praised her leadership skills and insisted she was not the slightest bit anti-Semitic. Oh, that's reassuring. He went on to say Miss McGill had been worn down by months of relentless external attacks and provided a legalistic answer to a moral question, making for a dreadful 30-second soundbite. Is that the end of that one? That's the end of that one. And again, just in case, calling for the genocide, I've said it now, of Jews, calling for the of anyone should violate anyone's code of conduct, not just the schools. But again, my uneducated, unsolicited opinion. Let me know what you think about any of these topics. Remember, we're going to go through the comments afterwards. So that was another angry one. We've got one more angry one, and then we'll go to a funny one, I promise. It's not all doom and gloom. The New York Post. This was published yesterday. A 50-year-old trans swimmer shared locker room while competing against teens. The girls were terrified. We're not going to watch the video. A 50-year-old transgender swimmer was allowed to compete against teenage girls at an event in Canada, with horrified parents building a makeshift tent out of towels to shield girls as young as 8 in the locker room. Oh, Melody Weishart, who once competed under the name Nicholas Cepeda, sparked outrage while competing during the Trojan Cup in Barrie, Ontario. Of course it's Canada. The girls were terrified. An unidentified parent of one of the teenagers told the Toronto Sun of having to share a locker room with the much older trans swimmer. I have thoughts. It's also confusing for the kids, another parent said. No one is comfortable. Everyone is accepting of all people, but them swimming against our kids and being in a locker room with them is not appropriate. Weishart, a professor at York University, participated in several events at the event over the first 3 days of December, including the women's 1500-metre freestyle for athletes 16 and older, in which she placed second. She has reportedly been competing against girls since 2019. Weishart was also spotted entering the locker room ahead of the event, and at least one concerned parent said they called the local police. The Barrie Police Department acknowledged to the Sun they were later advised that the matter had resolved itself and they did not attend. But parents said they were still left with questions about the incident. It's not right, dude. We have no idea why it's allowed, said one parent of Weishart competing against the girls. We know it's not fair to the girls who are training at their sport and some of whom are hoping for scholarships. In statements, Swimming Canada and Swim Ontario, which sanctioned the competition, defended Weishart's participation. In partnership with Swimming Canada, Swim Ontario has a robust system of policies, procedures, and rules that support our member clubs in providing a competitive experience that is safe, welcoming, and inclusive for all participants, the organisation said. I will come back to my thoughts. It noted that Swim Ontario investigated concerns related to an adult competing against swimmers aged 12 to 14 during a recent competition hosted by the Richmond Hill Aquatic Club and determined that they acted appropriately in hosting the competition. The organisation explained that athletes are seeded by entry time regardless of their age. It also said that access to changing rooms is determined by facility municipality procedures in accordance with applicable law. Swimming Canada and Swim Ontario believe swimming is for everyone. People of all shapes, sizes, genders, beliefs and backgrounds should be able to have the opportunity to swim to the best of their ability, with the expectation that our registrants treat each other with respect and dignity, and keep our sport environment free from harassment and abuse. Bear with. Apologies. This is crazy, one parent said in response, and none of this adds up. World Aquatics, the international governing body of the sport, effectively banned male to female transgender athletes from competing in women's events last year after updating its policy to allow for only swimmers who transition before age 12 or in the early stages of puberty. The Post has reached out to Weishart for comment. And that's it. Right, okay, we have thoughts. So, okay, unidentified parent, because they're scared of the backlash if they come out arguing against this. sharing a locker room with a grown-ass man. That's pretty much what they're doing. No one is comfortable. But them swimming against kids, why are they? I don't understand why they're swimming against children. And also, you didn't come first, bitch, against kids. But I don't understand. I don't understand. She has been competing against girls since 2019. Even though someone said it wasn't. It was against policy. Yeah, World Aquatics banned it. It was only last year. Okay, but yeah, she shouldn't have been competing last year or this year or ever again by the look of it. To go back to where it was, right? Okay, and the police were like, no problem. Young girls are scared. That's not okay. You know, and some of the girls were hoping for scholarships. Imagine if your scholarship depended on you being, I don't know, third in a race, but the person who stopped you getting into the top 3 was a trans woman who was, 5 times older than you? It's not fair. Grown-ass adult. And Swimming Canada and Swim Ontario defended the trans woman's participation. And here, safe and welcoming. For who? It's not safe and welcoming for the competitors, the young girls. They have said so much. They have said as much. They've literally said they don't like it. And it's perfectly okay for a grown-ass adult to compete against 12 to 14-year-olds. No, it's not. It is not. This is not okay. But I'm glad to see that World Aquatics effectively banned male to female transgender athletes from competing in women's events. But they allow for swimmers who transition before the age of 12. Why? No one should be medically transitioning until they are a grown-ass adult. In my opinion. It's bizarre. You can't, look, right, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that until I turned 18. And that's permanent. But you know what? I can get it removed, but it's painful. If you medically transition, there's no going back. So why are we allowing kids to do it? If you can't drink a beer, why can you cut your bits off? I have no issue with the trans community. Most of them are beautiful people who just carry on with their lives and just want to be left alone. I have issues with people like this who go out of their way to make everyone else feel uncomfortable, to effectively bully women and girls, in my uneducated, unsolicited opinion. Let me know your comments. I've tried to be respectful. I have failed to be respectful. I apologise, but I got very angry. But now we're going to go on to something a bit lighter. After that one, I didn't think I'd get that angry. Oopsie poops. I think I just closed the wrong screen. Bear with. Screen. And it was that one. There we go. As I said, we're going to end on a lighter note. Now, technically this wasn't this week, but it's funny. So, I came across it this week. Woman shoots herself in the bum after entering an MRI machine with a gun. I have thoughts. Okay. And just in case you didn't know, that's what an MRI machine looks like. They're not very nice to be in. And they're massively magnetic. If you've ever had an MRI scan, you've probably worried that your nightmares could come true. Left an earring in, had a metal pin put through a broken bone and completely forgotten. It's understandable, we've all heard the horror stories. This is in the Metro, by the way. But one woman had a bit of a shock to the tune of a loud blast when she had her scan. The 57-year-old from Wisconsin from the US took a loaded firearm into the machine, which was then attracted to the magnet when it was switched on. Oh my days. I said, pause. Whatever. There we go. She was then shot in the bum as a result, records from the Food and Drug Administration show. The use of device problem report submitted by the woman's insurance company to the FDA in July read it was reported that a patient was brought into the magnet room with a concealed ferrous handgun. In the process of entering the bore, the handgun was attracted to the magnet and fired a single round. The patient received a gunshot wound in the right buttock area. The patient was examined by a physician at the site who described the entry and exit holes as very small and superficial, only penetrating subcutaneous tissue. It is unclear how the woman managed to bring the gun into the scanner, as she had a routine screening for metal objects and confirmed she had nothing of the kind on her. She was taken to the hospital after the incident and later reported healing well, the record added. According to the NHS, magnetic resonance imaging is a type of scan that uses strong magnetic fields and radio waves to produce detailed images of the inside of the body. The MRI scanner is a large tube that contains powerful magnets which will lie inside during the scan. America. What the hell is wrong with you? This is... You remember to take your earrings out, but you don't remember that you have a gun. A gun? Why are you taking a gun to hospital? For an MRI scan? I mean, here in the UK, the gun situation, it is weird for us. It's not something we understand. We have other issues. But, sweetheart, why would you take a gun to hospital? Someone tell me, please. Please, someone explain why you would take a gun to hospital in the first place. But they are just a huge magnet. And I remember I went into one just up to about here because I had to have my legs scanned. And even though my head was outside of the machine, it was not pleasant. Would not recommend. You get earbuds to block out the noise, but would certainly not recommend at all. No. So that is the news headlines that caught my eye this week. Got a bit testy, salty in some of them. But I would like to see your uneducated, unsolicited opinions in the comments below. It'll be fun to have a chit chat about some of these articles. Let me know which article they are, by the way. But I'm going to end this stream. It's been lovely. If you've watched, thank you. If you've watched ahead of time, let me know. Leave your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And remember, I am covering the Corey Richards murder case where an author allegedly fatally poisoned her husband. There's a whole playlist on it. But I will see you in my next video. Thank you for tuning in. Bye. Now, let's see if we can end this stream.